Hey folks, DJ the Citrix Coach here. Today we're going to be talking about why we are better together. Let's get it started. All right, so I just got back from my second Citrix User Group Community, call it Geek Speak to Go, where I go and, or not just me, there's lots of us that go around and do talks at Citrix User Group Community meetings locally. So I thought I'd maybe talk about a couple of those meetings and then maybe talk a little bit about why we're better together as far as Citrix Community goes. And yeah. So for those of you that don't know, let me level set, and that is that the Citrix actually sponsors a Citrix User Group Community, and we have our own locally held meetings. We do things nationally and internationally as far as webinars, events, things like that. We have now introduced XL events, which are larger kind of events that are just longer form and that sort of thing. And the user group meetings can vary based on locality, but what we tend to do is we tend to have a time where we gather and have a little bit of discussion, how's everybody doing kind of things. We usually have some sponsors there to share what they're doing in the world and how, not just a sales pitch. Usually we encourage them to actually provide some content that actually is thought-provoking and kind of lays out the challenges better than just, trying to sell something. Obviously, we want them to tell us about their product, and how it benefits us. But that's the thing about the sponsors. And then we'll usually have some technical content, whether that be somebody in the local group community speaking or demonstrating something they're working on, or a special speaker where somebody like myself will come in and talk about a content, whatever that is for that speaker. And then we'll, very often with most groups, we'll have some time either afterwards or even during, depending on the venue, where we'll just hang out and enjoy each other's company and get to know each other and network and that sort of thing. And it's a great thing to do. Most groups tend to meet about quarterly locally. It can vary based on location. It is a worldwide thing at this point, so that can have variances. And kudos to the team that run this for us. I mean, me as a local leader, we don't have to do much. I mean, we tend to kind of just show up, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a little stuff that goes in the background for us where we're kind of making decisions and promoting and that sort of thing, and obviously the content during the meetings we're responsible for and that sort of thing. But other than that, I mean, the group is run professionally, and so running all of these different groups, and actually don't have the exact number. I'll try and put that up either on the screen here somewhere or whatever, the number of groups that are currently running today. But I had the pleasure of being at the 500th Citrix User Group Community local meeting, and it just happened to be, but the timing was right, that the 500th meeting was actually in Nashville, where I live, and help lead with my co-leader, Patrick Coble. And so we had our 500th meeting at Martin's Barbecue downtown, which was fantastic and smoky and awesome. And it was kind of a larger thing, because it was the 500th, and so we had a bit more going on that particular meeting. We had actually was able to present a talk I've been giving at other groups for a while. I was actually able to do it right from home, so it was great. So that was good. I talked about I call it the Dirty Dozen. It's the 12 kind of worst practices that I'm seeing in Citrix today. In other words, kind of instead of talking about the newest flashy stuff, I'm kind of bringing it back to talk about, okay, here's all the things that people are still doing wrong and we still need to address. You know, the latest and greatest stuff is great, don't get me wrong, but you're not really going to benefit if you're still doing a lot of other things wrong that are bigger impact than, you know, just a new version or a new toy can address. And so that was what I was talking about. Carl Webster, who is just the man, also happens to be part of our Nashville Citrix User Group Community, and so he gave a talk as well. He was talking about the Active Directory kind of top 10 things that he finds in assessments as well, and he, as you probably know, or you should know, does documentation scripts and health check scripts on his website, and a lot of things that he's done over the years and other people help him with developing, but ultimately definitely a resource you should check out at carlwebster.com. Make sure you grab those scripts from him and make sure you donate to Carl. He does this out of the kindness of his own heart and is not paid to do these in any other way, so that's a lot of work that goes in, so definitely give him a little donation there. That's much appreciated. And then my friend Steve Greenberg also presented, and he did kind of a cool thing you can do with PowerPoint now, where you can actually kind of do a choose your own adventure kind of a thing, where you can just click into a group of slides and it'll actually skip to that group, and so you can kind of treat it like, okay, audience, which do we do next? Something I'm actually pretty seriously considering going with my presentation. But anyway, so that's what he did. He did kind of a choose your own adventure on just general topics around end user computing, and it was a lot of fun. We had a little toast in the midst of that. I had some Bell Mead bourbon, which is actually one of my favorites. I enjoy in moderation on occasion. So yeah, it was great to have everybody there and not only learn a lot of great things, but toast to 500 meetings, which is just still blows my mind that in just a couple years of time that we've had enough of these Citrix user groups popping up all over the world that we've managed to have 500 meetings. That to me is saying a few things, and that's really the kind of the meat of what I wanted to talk about today, is that there's a desire out there, and I don't think we should take this lightly. It's easy to just think of a technology as just a technology, and that's fine. You know, I'm not decrying that. I'm not saying that it should be some sort of requirement to be part of a community to do a technology, or I'm not going to do the Apple thing where it becomes this kind of like, you know, sub-cult thing. You know, that kind of creeps me out, to be honest with you. But at the same time, there's a lot that goes on with Citrix that is just kind of outside of the core technology. There's a lot of no environment's the same. That's why I call these things leading practices, not best practices, because there's so much variance in the way people do things and the way organizations are run. There's different perspectives as far as business goals, objectives, how users are done, and then just businesses themselves are different. And so, hey, look, that usually means that things are going to be different. So as far as that goes, if you don't have a community backing you up, then you're largely just kind of on your own. And it's hard to get new ideas. It's hard to flourish in that regards if you don't have a community around you. If your only sense of community is, you know, blogs you find or Google searches or whatever, you probably aren't going to be all that fired up about making any kind of significant impact on the world. And as far as, and I know that sounds kind of weirdly dramatic, but the truth is, I have found in my life that I've actually made impacts on people's personal lives through the work I'm doing with Citrix. That actually is true. That I've literally had people come up to me and hug me in the hallways and send me thank you notes and things like that for what I've done for them just using the Citrix technology. That's what I want for everyone. If you administrate this technology or engineer it or whatever, I really want that to be something that's part of your existence. I want you to be somebody who is thanked and seen as a hero. That's why I do what I do. And so being part of a local community especially, I think is really key for that. I mean, there's a larger worldwide community. There's the website that we run and all these things that allow you to interact with people. But honestly, I really think it's important for you to be part of a community of people for that. But there's another reason. And that's that, this stuff is hard. This is not just plug and play and everybody's happy. This is more of like what Steve said in his talk. This is more of like spray and pray sometimes, where you just are throwing things out there and really hoping it hits home in a lot of ways. I don't want you to run like that, really. I really want it to be much better than that. But ultimately, the best designs in the world still have things that are wrong with them. And this has been universally true. I have never, ever, in more than 10 years of doing like professional assessments, I have never went to an environment running Citrix that didn't have something wrong with it, ever. That's just the honest truth. So there is no perfect answers, there's no perfect design, and there's no perfect implementation. And so you're always kind of putting it out there that you think is going to work best, and sometimes, hey, you know what, there's things that happen, and that causes stress. And when you have that level of stress, it's really a good idea to have a community around you that can gather around you, not only give suggestions, but just to vent. It's good to be able to just say, gosh, this is frustrating. And they go, yeah, I know what you mean. It's frustrating for me too. And I'm not saying dwell on that. Please don't just dwell on that. Please don't make this like an anger fest kind of thing, like, oh, things are horrible, blah, blah, blah. No, don't do that. But you really should be part of a community that is building you up and is doing everything that they can to support you as, this is important, as you support them. We're only better together if we are together. That's just the way this is. And I will say a couple of things about this before I close. There are some weird... trying to kill my car with their construction. That sucked. Anyway, I'll take a different route home, I think. There are a lot of weird perceptions out there about, Citrix versus VMware versus Nutanix versus blah, 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 whatever. And, as from a business perspective, that might be true. What I've found in the Citrix User Group communities, however, is that isn't necessarily the case. I mean, we tend to be very political especially in the United States. I don't know if this happens in other countries, but we tend to be very politically focused, and that's our mindset these days. And so what tends to happen with people a lot of times is they will align with products the same way you would align with a politician. So, this is where, like I mentioned before, it makes me a little uncomfortable sometimes when people just get overly fanatical about everybody should be running a Mac or something like that, that whatever. They get like that. And there's people that get like that with other technologies. Oh, you should be running Citrix, or oh, you should be running Horizon View or whatever, or Frame is way better, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you get this kind of thing. You get this kind of people that are in that kind of alignment. But what I've found in going to, having led now 2 Citrix user groups in Colorado and Nashville, and having spoken at quite a few of them as well, what I find is that in the Citrix user groups, I don't find a lot of that. I mean, it's an appreciation kind of a thing where you appreciate the technology and you want to get better at it and that sort of thing. But by and large, I don't find a lot of the competitiveness as far as this is better than everything else, and everybody else can go pound sand. I mean, people that are running VMware and things like that are very welcome at Citrix User Group communities, for sure. And yeah, that's the way it should be. I mean, we really are better together. So yeah, it's a good thing. So I encourage you to, if you're not part of a local Citrix user group, go to mycugc.org and sign up for an account there. And you will be able to see our blogs. There's a forum that you can be part of, and it's totally great. There's lots of discussion areas, but if you go up and find local groups, find one near you and join it. When you do that, a couple things. You'll be part of a different section that is dedicated to that group, but you will also be getting announcements whenever there's a local group. So I do recommend, like I do with many things, use your personal email address for this, not your work email address. Work email tends to get filtered more aggressively than your personal, and so you want to make sure you get these announcements. You'll also want to go and adjust your email settings as far as that goes, to what level you want, like forum posts and things like that. I personally do a digest of messages that are coming across, that sort of thing, and so that's definitely something you should do. So I encourage you to do that. Also, in terms of community, I do run a separate kind of community myself. It's the Citrix Hero community. This is more based on just a straight social network kind of thing. I mean, obviously people will kind of default to talking about, hey, I have this technical challenge and things like that, and we try to help. But honestly, my vision for this is much more of a kind of a replacement for Facebook, to be honest with you. So I know a lot of people like myself have become kind of uncomfortable with just being overwhelmed with stuff in Facebook, and so this is a way for us to just be able to kind of, there's a lot of things on Facebook that I haven't been able to, I could post about my frustrations with, the new names of Citrix technologies and how much it can frustrate me at times. I could post that on Facebook, but that's not a very good forum for that. And so that kind of thing is the kind of things, or, hey, I had a great contract recently, we figured this thing out, I wanted to share it with you, that sort of thing. Or, hey, I'm doing this new thing in my life and I want to share it with you, that sort of thing. That kind of level of involvement is what I'm after in my community. But for the larger part, I think it's much more important, if you're going to choose one between mine and Citrix User Group Community, choose the Citrix User Group Community, is what I'll say about that. It's a much more important thing. It's a much bigger and much more organized, but it's much more community-based as far as in-person resources. And so that is that. But anyway, the by and large, the part of this message that I wanted to get across to you is, don't just be that person who is just in your own world. It's okay to get out there and experience all of us other geeks out there. And so get out there, get better together, and we'll see you at the next Citrix User Group Community event. All right? Cheers. My Citrix User Group Community, or Citrix, whoa, hey, what's going on here? Focus going all crazy with the sun. All right, try this one more time. In fact,